One of the powers of the President vested by the Constitution is the power of appointment. In this video, we will try to understand the President's power of appointment and its legal basis. Now, I want you to get your CODL and go to Article 7, Section 16 of the 1987 Constitution. It says there, the President shall nominate and with the consent of the Commission on Appointments, appoint the heads of the executive departments, ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, or officers of the armed forces from the rank of colonel or naval captain, and those other officers whose appointments are vested in him in this Constitution. He shall also appoint all other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided for by law, and those whom he may be authorized by law to appoint. The Congress may, by law, vest the appointment of other officers lower in rank in the President alone, in the courts, or in the heads of departments, agencies, commissions, or boards. The President shall have the power to make appointments during the recess of the Congress, whether voluntary or compulsory, but such appointments shall be effective only until disapproval by the Commission on Appointments or until the next adjournment of the Congress. Let's digest this for better understanding, but first, we have to understand what appointment means. According to Cruz in his book Philippine Political Law, appointment is the selection by the authority vested with the power of an individual who is to exercise the functions of a given office. So, what is the scope of the power to appoint? Who are the officials to be appointed by the President? First are those officials whose appointments are vested in him by the Constitution. Second are those whom he may be authorized by law. And third are any other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided by law. It is important to remember that only those enumerated in paragraph 1 of Section 16, Article 7 need confirmation of the Commission on Appointment. This list is exclusive. And for us to remember it well, here are the list of appointments needing the confirmation of CA. First, those heads of executive departments. Number 2, ambassadors or other public ministers and consul. Number 3, officers of the armed forces from rank of colonel to naval captain. And number 4, those other officers whose appointments are vested in him in the Constitution. To better understand the difference between appointments which are subject to confirmation by the Commission on Appointments and bypassed appointment, let's take, for example, these two case laws. First is the Quintos Deles versus Committee on Constitutional Commissions, and the second is Soriano versus Lista. In the case of Quintos Deles versus Committee on Constitutional Commissions, the petitioner Teresita Quintos Deles and 3 others were appointed sectoral representatives by the President pursuant to Article 7, Section 16, Paragraph 2, and Article 18, Section 7 of the 1987 Constitution. During the meeting, the Committee on Appointments ruled against the position of petitioner Quintos Deles. Thereafter, the petitioner contends that her appointment as a sectoral representative for women by the President does not require confirmation by the Commission on Appointments to qualify her to take her seat in the House of Representatives. So the issue in this case is whether or not the Constitution requires the appointment of sectoral representatives to the House of Representatives to be confirmed by the Commission on Appointments. The Supreme Court ruled that the first group of people that may be appointed by the President, as stated in the provision, are the heads of the executive departments, ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, or officers of the armed forces from the rank of colonel or naval captain, and other officers whose appointments are vested in him in this Constitution. Since the seats reserved for sectoral representatives in paragraph 2, section 5, article 6 may be filled by appointment by the President by express provision of section 7, article 8 of the Constitution, it is indubitable that sectoral representatives to the House of Representatives are among the other officers whose appointments are vested in the President in this Constitution. Therefore, this referred to the first sentence of section 16, article 7, whose appointments are subject to confirmation by the Commission on Appointments. Now let's go to our second case, Soriano versus Lista. In this case, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo appointed public respondents to different positions in the Philippine Coast Guard, which is PCG. Petitioner questioned the said appointments for failure to undergo the confirmation process in the Commission on Appointments. So the question in this case is, do the appointments of respondents required confirmation of the CA? The answer is no. Now that the PCG is under the Department of Transportation and Communications and no longer part of the Philippine Navy or the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the promotions and appointments of respondent officers of the PCG or any PCG officer from the rank of captain and higher for that matter do not require confirmation by the CA. Now let's go to the limitations on the President's appointing power. The limitations on the President's appointing power can be found in Article 7, Section 14 of the 1987 Constitution, as well as Article 7, Section 15 of the 1987 Constitution. There are also special limitations to the President's appointing power. And these are, number 1, anti-nepotism provision, which means the President may not appoint his spouse and relatives by consanguinity or affinity within the 4th civil degree as members of the Constitutional Commission, as ombudsman, or as secretaries, undersecretaries, chairmen, or heads of bureaus or offices, including government-owned or controlled corporations. These can be found in Section 13, Article 7. Number 2, appointments extended by an acting president shall remain effective unless revoked by the elected president within 90 days from his assumption of office. This is in Section 14. Number 3, the midnight appointments, which means 2 months immediately before the next presidential elections and up to the end of his term, a president or acting president shall not make appointments except for temporary appointments to executive positions when continued vacancies therein will prejudice public service or endanger public safety. These can be found in Section 15. And the last, the President shall have the power to make appointments during the recess of the Congress, whether voluntary or compulsory, but such appointments shall be effective only until disapproval by the CA or until the next adjournment of Congress. This can be found in Section 16, Paragraph 2, of Article 7. Alright, so that's the end of today's video discussion. I hope you learned something and thank you so much for watching.